Few things in the world sound as great as jazz chords, but learning a few grips doesn't mean that you get them to sound right. So in this video, I'll show you some very simple jazz chords and then show you how you can make them sound great in actual songs. Because I have a few easy tricks to do that, which are really effective when it comes to the things that are actually important. Rhythm, phrasing, and sound. With this simple jazz chord type, you can do everything that you need to do with jazz chords when it comes to spelling out the harmony, rhythm, voice leading, bass movement and chromaticism. I'm of course talking about shell voicings, these 3-note chords. A shell voicing has the root as the lowest note, and that's found usually on the lowest string set, so the 5th or the 6th string, and then the 3rd and the 7th of the chord, which are really sort of the color of that chord, are found on the middle string set. You will for each chord have a version that has the root on the 5th string and also one that has the root on the 6th string. So for any key, you have 2 positions of a basic 2-5-1. Here it is in C major. And a little bit higher on the neck. As you probably noticed, then this way of playing the chords leaves out the 5th, but that is something that you can actually use, and I'll show you how that works later in the video. As jazz guitarists, then I think we often forget that you don't have to play chords with all the notes at the same time. Now instead, you can use that shell voicings naturally have 2 layers, bass and chord. You can play these 2 layers with a pick, but it is easier to get it to sound right if you play with your fingers. This opens up for a lot of options in terms of rhythm, and later I'll show you a great variation that goes even further. But first, check out how this sounds on Autumn Leaves. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, then the shell voicings leave out the 5th, but it's actually also an option to play the 5th instead of the root, and that can sound really great. So for D-7, you go from the basic version to this variation. And all that you do is really just move a finger to another string, and this works especially well for 2-5s, even when I'm only using one variation of the shell voicings. Check out how it sounds on There'll Never Be Another You. As you'll see, then playing the chords like this is actually a great way to start working towards walking bass lines, but I'll get to that later. You probably noticed that I am of course only using the one version where the root is on the 5th, but you can actually do the same for the 6th string root as well. It is just a bit more work, so you might want to add that later. Like this, you already have a way to add rhythm to the chords, voice leading and some bass movement is also taken care of, and of course I'll level up the bass part in a bit. You can also add some great movement and surprising sounds with chromatic chords, and it's actually surprisingly simple. The chromatic part of jazz is often hidden in a lot of music theory with all sorts of explanations like secondary tritone substitutions, harmonized bass lines, reharmonized dim chords, but you don't really need to make it that complicated. The point of the chromatic chords is really just to create some tension that then resolves on the next chord. And that really just means that you can actually create a chromatic chord by moving a chord a half step up or a half step down. So for the first 4 bars of Sonny Rollins' Pent Up House, I could use this G♯-7 to lead to A♯7. And move up D7 to E♯7 and then resolve that again. And of course, I'm not really thinking about what chord it is, I'm just shifting up or down a fret to keep it easy. Check out how great this sounds, also adding a bit of bass movement. Let's go all in and add a bit of walking bass as well. You actually already have a foundation. You can build this coming from what I already covered using the 5th of the chord as an alternative bass note. So if we start with something like this using Autumn Leaves. Then you already have 2 of the 4 notes that you need per bar for a walking bass line simply by using the root and the 5th. Now, adding the notes is just a matter of adding chord tones and scale notes or leading notes, and here I think the emphasis is mostly just on making it playable. Bonus is that often the chromatic leading notes in the walking bass line also automatically become great chromatic passing chords. Check this out. As you can hear, then this sounds great and there's a lot going on, but it's all pretty logical and just follows the stuff that you built going through this video. But I didn't talk about how you can also add extensions and colors to the chords, turning them into melodies and even chord melody and chord solos. That's what you can learn in this video, following some solid advice from Joe Pass. So I think that's the next thing you want to check out.